G'day, Breda. How are you?
Hey Tony, I'm great, thank you, and it's lovely to see you.
That's awesome. Oh, look, I was really actually hoping to come and meet you in person to have this conversation. Sadly, though, we are in lockdown here in Sydney, but thank God for technology, and we can still have our conversation through Zoom.
Great.
So, the plan is for me to ask you a few questions. But, can I just say that the Deaf Society and Deaf Services would like to pass on a massive congratulations to your recent award, your Australian Order Medal from the Queen's
Thank
Birthday Long
you.
Weekend. A massive achievement for you, and not just you, but the whole community as well.
Yeah, and I feel the same. I sort of feel like it's not just to me, it's to everyone in the community. There are many things that I've been involved with over the years, and people are sort of saying it's just me, but it's really the community's involvement.
Look, you're an amazing leader. You really are.
Thank you.
You are our role model.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thanks.
So, a few questions, if I may, and then if you just tell us about yourself. Are you a Sydney girl? I mean, where did you grow up? What's your history? Where did you go to school? Where did you study at university? All those sorts of things.
Okay, well, no, I'm not a Sydney girl. I'm a Queenslander. I grew up and I was born in Brisbane, and I actually grew up on the Gold Coast around that area, which is in Queensland. I didn't go to a deaf school. I was integrated like a lot of deaf people suffering through that, mainstreamed in schools. I didn't get involved into the deaf community until I actually left school, and then I was heavily involved in many different organisations, different activities, different groups, meeting different friends, involved in a lot of that over the years, and it gave me so much meaning to my life. My jobs have always been mostly within education. I'm a teacher for the deaf. I do teacher training, just being involved in the education area. That's my working background.
So, recently you mentioned mainstreaming there and how hard it was for you. If you could turn back time, what changes would you make?
If I could change anything about my education, and it would be to have more deaf people around me. I had nobody. I had no deaf peers, no deaf role models. I had nobody. And it was very, very difficult growing up without that knowledge of who I am. And, it was really hard.
It is interesting there. So, you're currently now working at Macquarie University. You're basically an adjunct fellow. Can you describe what that actually means?
Okay. Previously, I worked full time as a lecturer involved in education training teachers of the deaf. Then I resigned from that position. And when I resigned from there was that adjunct fellow states with Macquarie University. And I don't work there full time. There are some roles that I supervise the students, PhD students. Sometimes I might present a little bit. I do a little bit here and there, which means that I'm actually on their list of, I can use the library, and there are some benefits for me being involved in the academic community, but I don't work there full time.
Well, there you go. So, on that, so you received your AO medal there. What was your first feelings? What were your first sentiments about actually receiving that medal?
It was a very strange feeling. First of all, I think my initial feeling was, hang on, no, it's not just me. It's all the things that were listed there. Yes, yeah, that I had done all of that. However, I have worked with a team of people. So I felt like it wasn't just me. It was all of us. And maybe sometimes I led that group, but I just feel like I feel a little bit strange that they picked me, that I don't know, I just want to give it to everybody. But because in reality, I actually couldn't have done all of those things without the group, without the community that gave me that inspiration, that gave me the energy, the motivation to do that. So really, it's the group's work. And it does feel a bit strange that they've picked me. And secondly, because I come from a strong Irish family, my father and my grandfather, etc., with the English royals family. So the Queen's birthday, I'm like, yeah, no, I feel a bit strange about that. But anyway, so really it is. It's an Australian award, I know.
Look, the community love you. We value you, and you've richly deserved this recognition. We really do value you.
Thank you.
So, throughout your life, who have you looked up to as your deaf role models there? Who's given you that inspiration?
Oh, yes, there are so many. And that's something I've been thinking about. And there are actually too many to tell all of them. But I will name a few. And as I was saying before, when I grew up, I was in the mainstream education and I didn't know anybody. I didn't know any deaf people. I didn't even know what deaf people could do. I don't know what they had done. I knew nothing. And so I think it's very important for young people to have that. So when I got involved in the deaf community, the people that really inspired me and made me feel, yes, deaf people can do anything. And also deaf people have got the responsibility to encourage the community to make it a better life for everybody else. So a few examples. Dot Shaw, like a lot of other deaf people as well. She's their role model. But Dot inspired me. It's hard to explain her character. She's always so gracious, and it doesn't matter who she was with or who was around her, whether it's a hearing board members or they were young deaf people, family, or anybody. She treated everybody with compassion. She encouraged everybody. She was so polite. She was so supportive. It was just that type of a deaf leader is what I wanted to be, like that. And in her time, there was really no opportunities for deaf people to further their careers. They had so many barriers, yet she still was involved, supporting and working so hard. And what an amazing person. And the other person that really inspired me is John Lovett from Melbourne. I also lived in Melbourne for a little while. And I think that he showed me what deaf leadership looked like. For example, I was selected to be on the board of the Deaf Society, which is now Expression Australia, but I'm talking many, many years ago. I was young and I had no idea, and it was the first time I'd ever been on a board. And all of a sudden, John Lovett was the chair for the board. So, there was a lot of hearing people that were also on this board. There were a lot of men as well, because in the old days, that's what it was. And he was there facilitating, telling everyone what to do. And if something was wrong, if he made a mistake, he would apologise for that. And he's just an amazing person, and just the way he organised everything, and the whole board was almost hearing. And I just learned so much from him as to what that looked like as a deaf person to sit in an area like that. But also, he had a lot of important roles, but he always had the time to support young deaf people. Someone new came into the community, he would always support them, give them time. He never said, no, I'm too busy doing other important work. And that's what I remember about him. And the third person, well, there's so many, but like I said, I'll only name a few, is Nola Colfax. And again, how do I describe her? I think Nola showed me, and many of us, that deaf people have got this inner creativity to have a look at what makes deaf people so special, and how can we show the world that deaf people are successful, we're funny, we're clever, we're creative, through her theatre work. And also, she was just a wonderful role model on how to age well. She was still involved, she was still active within the community, and they always were there, always supporting new people, always welcoming everybody, were interested in new people, supporting them, to making you feel more energised and more inspired. So people like that I always looked up to, and we're very, very lucky to have those people and others in my life.
Look, I'm sure Dot John, and then Nola sitting up in heaven there would be so immensely proud of what you've done.
Yeah, hopefully. And thank you. Thank you to them up there.
That's just an amazing story there. So my last question for you is, what's your key message for anybody around Australia?
Okay, so for deaf community or just the general?
I think just the general community, really.
Okay. For other deaf people, I think that it's my message. It's always worth to be involved, give your energy, give your time, give your commitment to make our community better. Because if we don't, well, who will? So we are also responsible to make sure that we have a great deaf community with lots of activities, lots of action, lots of positive, and what we can give to our next generation. So we need to roll up our sleeves and make it work. And I think that's very important. It's very worthwhile to do that. I think it's better to make a better community for us all. And for the wider public, my message is deaf people can do anything with lots of things if you give them the right support. Deaf people should be involved in decision making in areas where they are involved in education, service provision. I don't think that they should be making decisions without deaf people on that level.
That's a lovely message, it really is. And Deaf Society and Deaf Services, thank you so much for your time today, Breda. We really, really do appreciate you.
Thank you.
And I very much look forward to seeing you around in the community.
Thank you, and it's lovely to see you, and I'll see you around as well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.